Hello everyone, Ted the oldest Star Wars nerd here, and it is time to continue talking about Tales of the Jedi from Star Wars Legends. This week I am going to do a rundown on the Saga of Nomi Sunrider. When I did the first video, I recorded the audio first, then while searching for something to use for the video, I was able to purchase a copy of the Star Wars Omnibus, Tales of the Jedi, number 1 and number 2. After reading through the parts that corresponded with the first video, I thought it was great. All I had really seen of the comic before was what I had seen featured in Wookieepedia. So I urge everyone to go to the link below and buy your copies directly from Dark Horse Comics. I'm going to stick with my main source of story being the audiobooks for these videos. I still use pictures from the comics and videos as well as pictures from other sources. Okay, to begin with part 2, let's talk about characters. In this part, we will meet Jedi apprentice Nomi Sunrider, his wife Nomi, and their daughter Vima. Also, we will be introduced to Willem and Jedi Master Thrawn. There are a few different bad guys in this part, but the biggies are Saga the Hutt, pirate Finhead Stonebone, and a brother-sister combo of Lima and Satal Keto. Just like part 1, the audiobook was written by John Whitman based on the comic that was written by Tom Veitch and published by Dark Horse Comics. Alright, let's get into it. This is my short summary of part 2 of Tales of the Jedi, the Saga of Nomi Sunrider. In the year 3999 BBY, that is the Battle Before Yavin, which is featured at the end of Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. The Jedi apprentice Nomi Sunrider, along with his wife Nomi, their daughter Vima, and their droid A3DO, leave their home on the planet Harath in order to seek out the reclusive Jedi Master known as Thrawn on Ambria in the Stennis system. Having been sent by his old master, Chama, to learn from Thrawn, Ender carries rare Adagan crystals which he was to present to Thrawn as a gift from Chama. Midway through their trip to the Stennis system, the Sunriders stop at a hyperspace terminal to gather food and supplies for the final leg of their journey to see Master Thrawn. During their time on the hyperspace terminal, it is discovered by Saga the Hutt, a known crime lord, that Ender is in possession of several rare Adagan crystals. Wanting the crystals for himself, Saga orders his gang of thugs to attack the young man and bring the crystals back to him. Saga's gang manage to surprise and kill the young Ender, but are unable to gather the Adagan crystals from the corpse. Following his death, Ender reappears as a Force ghost to his wife Nomi, telling her to pick up his fallen lightsaber and defend both their daughter and herself. Through her dead husband's insistence and knowledge that she is Force sensitive, Nomi is able to slay 2 of the criminals and send the rest fleeing. She then gathers up Vima, A3DO, and the crystals, and then depart again for Ambria. There's a short cutaway where the story goes back to Ulic and Kay, where they are discussing how calm events are lately, but also how Master Arca is still very worried about something. Kay says that Master Arca is probably worried about rumors that King Omen is still alive on Onderon, with an army of dark side warriors hidden down in his catacombs. While wishing for some excitement, the palace where Tat Danita is at explodes. Having arrived on the desolate world of Ambria, Nomi orders A3DO to stay behind with their ship, the Lightsaber Explorer. Bringing Vima along, Nomi sets out to follow her feelings in the hopes that they lead her to whom she sought, Jedi Master Thrawn. Eventually, making her way through the harsh deserts of Ambria, Nomi and Vima encounter a lone being riding a fierce-looking beast. Knowing that this being is a Jedi, Nomi follows him back to his modest dwelling, a small farm in the middle of the desert. Meanwhile, at the order of Saga, who still wants the elusive Adagan crystals, several gangsters manage to track Nomi to Ambria, where they find A3DO inside the Lightside Explorer. Believing that the crystals they sought are inside the ship, the thugs shoot A3DO while in the process of looking for the hidden treasure, unaware that Nomi has taken the crystals with her. Following their quarry's trail to the dwelling where Nomi and Vima are at, Saga's men are confronted by Nomi's host. However, the Jedi is overwhelmed by the sheer number of thugs. Despite the apparent advantage held by the gangsters, the beast which Nomi had seen the Jedi riding intervenes in the struggle. Having the element of surprise, the beast is able to trample several of the pirates, thus forcing the remainder of the gang into retreat. Safe for the time being, it is soon revealed that the being whom she had met was a Jedi Knight by the name of Os Willem, and that the fierce-looking beast is actually Master Thon. Back on Ambria, under the guidance of Thon, Nomi begins her training as a Jedi Knight alongside Os Willem, and Nomi eventually learns how to listen to and understand Master Thon. Alima and Satal are introduced as heirs to the throne of the Empress Teta star system. They are on a trip to Coruscant to find dark side objects said to be located in the Museum of Dark Side Antiquities. When left alone inside, Satal grabs an ancient Sith book and the siblings make a run for it. While the Jedi training continues, a ship of Baga the Hutt's is hijacked by the pirate Finhead Stonebone, who is intent on capturing the valuable ore which is aboard the ship. However, Baga himself, aboard his flagship Enforcer 1, is able to thwart Stonebone's plans and captures both him and his pirate gang. Believing that Baga was going to execute him for his crimes, Stonebone was surprised when Baga decides that the pirate and his gang would pay for their crimes by traveling to Ambria, where Stonebone was to kill Master Thon and anyone with him, and retrieve the Adagan crystals which had previously eluded Baga's best efforts. Stonebone, as the leader of both his pirate crew and several thugs of Baga's, leads an attack on Thon's homestead and manages to capture Thon due to Nomi's reluctance to engage in violence following her husband's murder. However, upon realizing that Thon is not going to fight back, in order to show her the path of the Jedi, Nomi decides to use her Force abilities to attack Stonebone and the rest of his gang. Through the combined efforts of Nomi and the freed Thon, the pirates are soon driven from Ambria, never to return again. Afterwards, Master Thon tells Nomi that they will go to Coruscant and then on to Onderon. Okay, that is the end of part 2 of the story. If you're listening to the audiobook, it's also the ending of part 3 of the 4 audiobook files. Okay, so to wrap up, we see Nomi growing her power in the Force and taking up her lightsaber at last. We have a couple of dark side students who are now holding an important Sith book, and we have a Sith army under King Omen emerging back on Onderon. Ah, good times. With these stories being written so early, way back in 1995, most of the Star Wars lore had not been established yet. Therefore, you see things like Jedi having families and beginning training at an older age. Maybe this is established in the Old Republic times for Jedi, but I'm not familiar with it. Hopefully I'll learn more as I read more, but like I say, I haven't seen it yet. Adagan crystals. Okay, I wasn't really familiar with Adagan crystals. I had read this term, heard this term before, but I hadn't really paid attention to it. I'd always heard of Kyber crystals, and that's what most things have been always focusing on in Star Wars lore. You'd always heard of the Kyber crystals, and even Rogue One, the movie, was focused on that. So Kyber crystals, come to find out, are just a generic term for lightsaber crystals. So a lightsaber crystal is a Kyber crystal. A Kyber crystal is just a lightsaber crystal. And there are types of them, like a Dagon crystal is a type of crystal. And it has its own types as well, but then I'm not really going to get into that. Links are below if you want to go down that rabbit hole and read all about Force crystals and lightsaber crystals, Adagan crystals, and the Force tunings that you have to go through. And it's really interesting. I spent a lot of time doing that. It can be a little overwhelming, but go check it out. Now, some Force abilities shown in this were Force ghosts. Now, this is 4,000 years before Star Wars A New Hope, and growing up, back before Phantom Menace came out, what most people thought was that all Jedi vanished and became Force ghosts. It wasn't until Qui-Gon didn't fade away that we started realizing that not all Jedi fade away and become Force ghosts at that time. Until then, that was all we knew about it, is that was a given. We saw Obi-Wan die, his body faded away. We then saw Yoda die, his body faded away. And then at the end, there they both were, Force ghosts. We couldn't really tell if Vader, Anakin's body, faded away because it was inside the shell of Vader. We can just assume it did, and all that was really burned on that pyre was Vader's armor. So before Episode 1, all we really thought that all Jedi had that capability. So, and you see that reflected in these books, how Force ghosts just appear right after they die. Ander appeared right before Nomi, told her to pick up the lightsaber and take care of herself and a daughter and get out of there. So, Force ghosts were a thing back then. So all in all, a good second part. We met some new Jedis, we've met a new Hutt, and some other generic bad guys. After doing the audios for these videos, I then start looking for images to use for the video, and I start learning a lot more about the lore in the expanded universe. For instance, both parts about the crystals and the Force ghosts earlier were recorded multiple times. It's also showing me how the story in the audiobook and the comics differ. The comics seem to focus on a single storyline at a time, whereas the audiobooks take storylines from multiple comic issues to merge into a single story. There are elements from the Freedom Nad Uprising comic mixed in with this part of the audiobook. My next video will be on the Freedom Nad Uprising and goes deeper into the Keto cousins and how they grow their dark side powers. So that will be part 3 of Tales of the Jedi, coming soon. Again, this is Ted, the oldest Star Wars nerd, and if you like my content, please press the thumbs up button, press the subscribe button, and share my links all over your social media. Thanks everyone. Until next time.